Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode of Manage Smarter is presented by Sales Fuel Coach, our adaptive sales coaching featuring 5-minute quick coaching personalized to each sales rep. Learn more about Sales Fuel Coach at salesfuel.com. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
You know, Lee, I just recently moved down to Texas, and they're starting to reopen here. Restaurants at 50% capacity, gyms 25%. Slowly, things are opening. But we've got the founder of the C-Suite Network, which we're very proud to be a part of, on the show today to talk a little bit about getting ready for that and other strategies and ways of doing business in a new campaign called Open from Business. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's definitely time. As a matter of fact, it's like, if anything, it's like it should have started already for a lot of people. And there's a lot of things that are holding people back, whether whether that be fear of the unknown, whether it be, just a lot of confusion about all the conflicting news that's out there. On one hand, the WHO says it's like, it's the worst thing ever. And then yesterday I read a news article that says, if you're asymptomatic or whatever, don't worry about it, whatever. It doesn't spread that way. So it's like, make up your mind, people. And it's really difficult sometimes to try to have a functioning business when you're getting all this conflicting information from the same source. So, you know what, the best thing to do is to put the pedal down and let's get back to work.
And we've got some new ideas, some new lenses and things maybe to flip around your usual way of doing business from Jeffrey Hayzlett. Proud to welcome him to the show. Chairman, CEO of the C-Suite Network and host of All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett podcast. And here today to talk, like I said, is hashtag Open from Business Initiative. Jeffrey, thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It is time to get open for business. We've been sitting around for a while, sitting on our what, and it's time to get it going. Not everybody's been. A lot of people have been driving and thriving, but for a large part, we've been kind of held in limbo, kind of held back by a lot of different people saying, no. It's not been as bad as we thought, but we've got a terrible economy as a result. So it's time for us to do everything we can to get this country back and running and as best as possible.
Let me clarify something. So Kira sent me Open from Business, but it's actually Open for Business, right? Is the
Open
hashtag?
For Business.
For
open
business.
From Business.
Okay.
For business. Yeah, we don't want to be from business. We want to
run away. Okay, so let's re-clarify. Open for Business Initiative. Okay, good. So you say,
the big thing I'd say right now, for everybody, think about this. Lee, Audrey, yourself. We are not doctors. We are not nurses. I don't even know if you guys can sew a mask. I know I can't,
I know I can't.
Yeah. But
I can
but
buy
what
one.
I can be. Yeah, there you go. But what I can be is a business first responder. And I think that's the way we've got to look at ourselves as leaders in businesses, whether you're in sales or you're in the full leadership of the company. What can you be doing right now to get open for business as much as you can? I look around and I say today, days are weeks, weeks are months, months are now years. So whatever you were trying to do in the next 6 months, you got to do in the next, couple of weeks. Whatever you were trying to do in the next couple of years, you got to do now. I saw somebody who, a cartoon that was out the other day. I'm trying to see if I can remember where it was from. It's from a guy named Tom Fishburne. You got to look this up. Okay. Fishburne, Burne, and he had a cartoon where these people were in a meeting room in the corner office of a building, a large building, and they're saying digital transformation is years away. I don't see our company having to change anytime soon. And then there's this huge wrecking ball called COVID-19, swinging toward their window, So that's what we're seeing right now. You've got to really make some changes, but at the same time, you've got a duty of care to protect your most important assets, which are your employees and your customers. So you've got to balance that. And that's a tough thing for a leader to do, is how do you balance it and what do you have to do in order to make that happen?
It's also a very compassionate thing actually to be open for business as well, because when you're open for business, you're putting people to work. You're giving them less time to stew over all of the worst case scenarios. You're giving them less things to stress over as long as they know that they're going to be getting a paycheck. They can see some light at the end of the tunnel. It's great for the mental health. It's great for the fiscal health. It's really one of the most compassionate things you can do as long as you do it safely.
Yeah, absolutely. Most Americans, I think, want to work and they want to contribute. And the best way to contribute is by being a valued member of society, and being a valued member is we're employed. 42 million people have applied for unemployment so far. And, hopefully we've seen the peak of it. It might be a little bit more before it's done. But then, the goal is let's get everybody back to work before the end of this year. And to do that, we've really got to turn up the volume, get over this. Everybody went home, started doing all these home projects. Great for you. Good for you. Some of us never stopped working. I know Lee, like yourself, Audrey, like yourself.
Right.
I've never been busier in my life.
Same here.
Yeah. And I finally just took it. I hadn't been outside for 2 solid weeks. I finally took a day off on Sunday, half a day, I'll say, and worked outside, and then came inside and finished more work. So, that's the nature of what we've got to do right now. And you got to do everything you can to, get America, get this country, get Canada, get every country back to work.
Let's say you're on the wrong side of how this thing came down, though. So let's say you own a restaurant or you worked in a hotel. How can you make that happen when you're non-essential and you're essentially closed? Your operations are governmentally closed. Do you have ideas for the people who fell into that bucket as opposed to?
In most places, even with the restaurants, they said the restaurants, you can't be in the restaurant. Didn't say you couldn't do takeout. Didn't say you couldn't do delivery. Didn't say you couldn't change the experience. I had Michael Chernow, who owns the meatball shop in New York, a whole bunch of meatball shops in New York. And he also owns Seymour restaurants, some seafood restaurants in New York. And he shuttered those. He shuttered the seafood restaurants because he said, look, I just can't make it go with, people coming into the restaurant. So he did. But he, ramped up what he was doing at the meatball shop, which was takeout and delivery, food that travels, which is a unique phrase I'd never heard. He says, as a restaurateur, you have to rethink what you do and how you do it. I know other restaurants are starting to open in different ways. I mean, they're going into an industrial area, where there's no ambiance, where they're just going to do delivery. They're just going to re-tier the restaurant in a different fashion to be able to say. Some restaurants, like, where I'm at in South Dakota, did okay. I'm not telling you they did great, but they got it down. I mean, to the point where I really like it. I like going up to my Brandon Steakhouse and calling ahead, ordering it, going there 15, 20 minutes later. I drive up, text is, because my wife's driving. I text as we're getting close, and they're standing outside with my food. Holy moly.
Right.
That's better service than when I went in it.
And we got a restaurant chain here in Columbus, Cameron Mitchell, who also owns a lot of restaurants in Florida and New York City as well. And they're doing these things called family meals where you call ahead, and it's like, and they put everything together, meal of 4 or whatever, from all of their best restaurants. And, with seafood one day, barbecue the next day, steaks the next day, whatever. It's mostly pre-prepared. You may have to do a little bit of heating up and like that when you get home or whatever, but it's a fantastic experience. The food is great. It's like, I miss the ambiance a little bit. But on the other hand, though, I don't miss snotty waiters. And so,
the best part about that, they include the cocktails, don't they, Lee?
Yes, that's the best thing that's come from all this. The best thing is like, it's like now I can get my tacos and takeout or whatever and get margaritas to go. It's like, it's the most fantastic thing ever. And I hope they keep doing that.
And that's a great way of being innovative. I mean, I just got back from Los Angeles where, there's been a great deal of unrest, and I was staying there at the Marriott. There were quite a few people who were staying there. Now, we're all socially distanced. Everybody's doing a great job of protecting themselves, but they were severely undermanned. So when you say, Audrey, hey, they closed down entirely, let people go. I mean, the people that were there were busting their butts. I mean, literally running to be able to take care of the bar, to take care of the food. And it was difficult for you to order food out, I got to tell you, because that was also during some of the rioting and looting and everything else. So you couldn't call Uber because there was a shutdown at 4 p.m., 6 p.m. every day. So a little bit, I mean, you talk about complications and it's tough, but let some people open up. It's kind of interesting. A buddy of mine owns a restaurant in Santa Monica. And the day I was going to go to that restaurant on Sunday, I was going there about 6 o'clock. At 5 p.m., his place got hit. And these aren't protesters that are hitting. These are organized crime. These are people who know what they're doing. He's got a video where he's standing out front of it watching these guys hit his restaurant. They knew exactly what to do. They worked in teams. They had backpacks. They, took the most expensive wine, hit the cash register, had hammers, bust open door, crowbars, the whole bit. They knew what they were doing. I mean, these are organized, thugs, and I'll say thugs. And regardless of what your color is, these are people who were just, criminals, and that's what they did. But yet they won't let him open back up. I mean, come on. Let the guy do the work. And so, government, look, you can go and have a protest, quite frankly, and all due respect. I'm all for the protest. I'm all about Black Lives Matter. I'm all, listen, there's all in. All in, all right? Yeah, listen, I'm a white guy who's all in, all right? Yeah, have been for years. Read my books. I've been vocal on this this thing. But look, you can let people protest and not social distance, but you won't let a restaurant open up with a table 6 feet apart. It doesn't make sense.
Well, you bring up another interesting issue about being open for business, because we have a restaurant chain here in Westerville, where the headquarters of my company, and they have a first responders discount. It's a healthy one, too. It's like a 50% discount for first responders. Their entire staff walked out the door because they continued to provide the 50% discount to police officers. So, wow. Given that, it's like, we have another challenge to navigate as business people, is that how can we voice our support and take action then to bring about the needed social change that we need right now. But at the same point in time, it's like, there seems to be this black and white where it's like you're either on this side or that side, and there is no gray area in between, when I believe the entire world is nothing but gray matter or people without gray matter, one of the other. And,
to condemn an entire population, regardless of occupation or color or of sex or, whatever, is just not, it's not productive. It's not productive. I'm sorry. Do I think there have been bad police? Absolutely. Let's find them, hunt them down, and get them out or prosecute them. Mm-hmm. Let's do that right away. Let's stop the behavior. But let's don't throw out. Listen, I'm the godparent for a local cop here in my town of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Dude, he was in the middle of protest here the other day and did a great job. I saw him on TV from Los Angeles, and I called him up and said, "Great job, great job." And there are and I watched him as he handed a microphone on his squad car to a young black woman so she could plead with the protesters. I mean, that's not a guy that's doing it wrong. It's a guy that's doing it right. Rather than him stand up and do it, he got one of the local protesters to say, "Hey, you're a leader here. Take charge." And so again, I know we're talking about let's get back to work, but let's get the whole country back to healing and back to working the way we need to be doing and working together. And I think that's an important aspect of it. And for all of us, folks, don't judge one group of people by the actions of others. I don't care whatever your color, whatever your creed, whatever your sexual orientation is, whatever your politics are. I don't think Republicans are bad, Democrats are bad. I think there are some Republicans that are bad and some Democrats that are, but I don't condone. I don't, condemn both parties, or the police, or the fire, or whoever.
Anytime that people have a tendency then to judge the thinking and the behavior of any group of people, based on arbitrary factors like demographics and things like that, whether it be occupation or like I said, the demographics or whatever, is like, that's just a recipe for trouble, because all people do not think the same. All people do not behave the same. And it's like, to lump everybody in together as this group and everything like that and think that they're homogenous or whatever, is like, as your manager or whatever, you absolutely cannot afford to do that. Every person is different, and you need to understand, what makes every individual tick to be able to manage them effectively and appropriately.
Yeah, but you're a very good critical thinker, and there's a lot of people not wired like that, or have not been mentored by a business leader that has taught them how to work that way.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to share that wisdom and my experience with others, so that they hear it, or where they maybe take a step back and think about it for a little bit, and re-examine perhaps what they're doing.
Well, and this gets to the point, Lee, you're going to have to reevaluate your work policies, reevaluate the way you work, who should work, when you should work, should it be at the office, should it be remote, and you're going to have to evaluate, typically you look at it all or nothing. Well, I don't think it's going to be that way once we get back to work, as we open up the offices. We're looking at phased approaches in our own operation where we send people back based on, a checkerboarding. We might have to move desks around. We might have to move, assignments of where people work and sit based on the social distancing. And, quite frankly, there are some people that I've found during this process who work great from home, some that suck at it. Okay. And we know who you are. To think we don't know who you are is just crazy. We do. We watch.
We can look at the metrics. We know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can watch. We can, certainly there's software out there that we can watch keystrokes. I don't go to that extent.
No, not that. No.
Yeah, but I can watch if you're a sales team member and you're logging into Salesforce. I check that.
Yeah.
How often? How many records have you updated? Or how often are you on? How long were you logged in? How many times during the day did you log in? Yeah, I want to know those things. Those are important to me, because then when you sit there and say, and I check your calendar, you say, oh, I'm flooded with appointments, and I see you got 2. Where are the rest of them? So there's different ways that we're going to have to think about that and how we want to deploy people. I mean, even to the point where a lot of employees probably are going to say, hey, and you need to think about this, leaders out there. They're going to say, hey, I want to work from home from now on. Why? Well, because I'm at risk, or I think I could be at risk. Okay, really, seriously. So you have how many children, and are they out playing? I saw you at or no children, or whatever it might be. You can got to look at everything. But my point is, they're out and about, or you're out and about. And so let's see, you're at the protest on Sunday with 4,000 people, but you can't show up to work on Monday because you're afraid that you might get the virus, right? It doesn't make sense. So there's going to have to be some very big conversations that are held, transparent conversations that you want to take a look at as you get back to work.
I wanted to actually bring this conversation around to something very positive. As a business owner, it's like, we have a very unique opportunity right now to be extraordinary leaders, where in the fact that we can help bring a country back, from, one of the worst recessions that we've had in quite some time. And we have the opportunity to affect people's lives that way. We have the opportunity to affect social change by how we react and respond and activate ourselves with Black Lives Matter and everything that's going on there. It's like, the opportunities right now are there for leaders to step up and really make an impact on the world. And it's actually, despite everything that we've been through so far this year, where it's actually, if you look at the second half of the year, it's a very exciting time.
And it's going to bring different things that you're going to have to address. I mean, just yesterday, somebody tweeted out, I'm not going to go to Jeff Hayzlett's program because he hasn't spoken out on Black Lives Matter. Thank you for saying that publicly and tweeting it, you idiot. You're an idiot, because if you haven't checked my record or haven't looked at what I've done, so you're going to have to figure out how you deal with those kinds of things. That's my first response, right? Probably not the best response, but nonetheless, you're going to be judged in different ways. People are going to say different things about you, your brand. You're going to have to come up with different ways you're going to have to respond in this matter. And not just on this, but with Corona and everything else. It's just, we're going through a very difficult time, a very volatile time. And when you go through a volatile time, tempers flare, people get isolated, you polarize different people. But you're exactly right, Lee. It's up to leaders, whether they're in business or in public policy. But I really think it's time for people, leaders, business leaders, to take a stand. I said this in my book on the hero factor, not more than a year and a half ago. It's time for people to start to pick sides. And to pick sides to say we're not going to put up with a lack of diversity. We're not going to put up with people not being inclusive. We're not going to put up with people not getting more politically active on the things that are most important to them and their issues. And I'm a real believer in that. We can't sit by, well, I don't want to mingle with that because that could be bad for business. Well, no, it's good for society. It's good for being a human. And by the way, in the end, it's always good for business, even if your policy is diametrically opposed to what some of your customers believe. And I'll give you a good example. Look at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, Kathy Truitt, who's the CEO and chairman of Chick-fil-A, has a policy that he doesn't like same-sex marriages. And, by the way, he closes on Sunday. Are you kidding me? First of all, I don't agree with that. Second of all, closing on Sunday, I want a good chicken sandwich on Sunday, right? But that's his belief. Does it hurt his business? Yeah, in some cases. But by and large, I know many gays and homosexuals who go to Chick-fil-A because they got a great sandwich. He just has a different political belief. And by the way, at last I checked in this country, and again, I don't agree with his opinion. He's certainly entitled to it. He got free speech. As an American, as a citizen of this country, he's allowed to do what he wants to do. Now, could there be a consequence of that? Without question. Without question. If you're so bothered by that, by all means, right? But he has a right to that. Just like, Trump has a right to his opinion, and so does Biden. And sometimes they actually agree, which I heard they did yesterday, and I almost fell over.
But isn't it riskier now in this cancel culture climate that seems to be rearing up? People are almost doxing more often online and really coming after people they just patently disagree with. And I wonder if it's just risky business-wise to really put yourself out there or make any kind of statement.
Well, I think you gotta take your time before you open your mouth. I mean, I just read yesterday that you talked about doxing this young man, financial employee for a financial company, got in Baltimore, got wrongly accused of being the person who pushed these young kids in a Maryland park for putting up signs. And I don't know if you heard about this. Everybody's been looking for this guy for days, and they track down bike riders that log into this path. Some woman found this guy, believed it was this guy, found it, and then published his picture, his profile picture. And he doesn't check Twitter. He's not really on social media, even though he has an account, but he didn't do anything. And people wrote some of the most filthy, most dangerous things, said, "We're coming to get you, you bitch," and blah, 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 really bad words, and threatened his life and so forth. Wrong guy. Didn't even ride that day. And of course she took the tweet down, but after 22 million views and 1,000 death threats and people threatening to beat him up and everything else, the Attorney General called him, said he apologized. All these people apologized, but the damage has been done. Yeah.
And the thing is that leaders don't you don't feel like you need to rush into making a statement. It's like that. Leaders don't always have to have all the answers. We have to have the right questions. And so this is like before we open our mouths on issues like this that can blow back on us. It's like we have to get curious. We have to ask a lot of questions of a lot of different diverse viewpoints and hear people out, really listen, try to understand their perspective as best we possibly can. And then we can actually make an informed statement then that is not tone deaf and actually will resonate, strike the right tone or whatever, and won't blow back on us. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Oh, without question, be measured in what you do. There's old saying, measure twice, cut once. And I think this applies to the way in which we approach different things. And think about what you want to do. So getting back to work, we said, look, with coronavirus, and now we think about these more volatile issues that are before us politically and socially. We said, first, let's go out and help people with, C-suite loans. So help people find a place to be able to get, capital that they need during this time, because they might not be getting a PPP. They might not be getting the EIDL. So let's go help them with C-suite loans and access to some vetted funding. And that's indeed what we do with c-suiteloans.com. And then we said, okay, now everybody's going to need masks, going to need other things that they're going to need. So let's go find that. And so we set up C-suite supplies. And now everyone's coming to me and saying, oh, geez, we have to take a stand. We have to take a stand. Well, we've already taken a stand. We've been very clear about this, about diversity, about inclusion as an organization. So we don't need to really make a statement. Okay, there's ways we can make a statement. How about we make a statement with our action? That everybody on our stage, we have to have people of color or people of women more than men on stage, which we do. We've been doing that for a long time. We've done that for the last 5 years as an organization. We're all about trying to make that happen. And then let's go look at our programming and look at the things that we can do to highlight the issue like we're doing right now. and having great discussions and listening and speaking and being a good voice and as a good steward for the way that we should operate, not just our businesses, but our lives and our country. And I think that's what we should be doing, And then when people say, hey, all lives matter, we say, whoa. Yeah, that's true. All lives do matter. But Black lives matter just as much as white lives and all other lives. And when you say Black lives matter, you're not saying all lives don't. You're just raising up the level of the way in which you want to treat all people. And that's the emphasis that's got to occur. So you're going to find ways. It's going to be difficult for you to go through that. But think it through. Speak. And so I had Rolanda Watts, a former national talk show host.
He's great. Yeah.
He's awesome. She's on our C-Suite radio. I had her on my show. We talked live from LA last week. And she helped me rethink some things. And one of the key thing was sometimes you just, as a white male leadership in a very, privileged position, I've earned my way as a privileged position. But although I had a way, I had to step up because of the color of my skin, without question, because we talked about what would happen if I were arrested like that. And I would fight back. I would probably push back. And she said, yeah, but you wouldn't be put in that position. You wouldn't have had a knee on your neck. You wouldn't have had these kind of things. And you know what? She was right about that. They might have roughed me up. They might have pushed me around because I'm a big guy and so forth. But because of the color of my skin, because of, how I might be dressed or the way in which I act or whatever, I wouldn't be in that same position. And that made me think, and it made me think that I should shut up and listen more often, because there's a lot to be gained by listening to others. Now, even if you don't agree with them, there's a lot to be gained from it. And we learn that way in business too, as you well know. And Lee, you know that in sales, Yep. Shut up and listen. A lot of salespeople will talk themselves out of a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the discussion similar to this is always good at your events, Jeffrey. So it's c-suitenetwork.com for more information on the C-Suite Network and all of the events and initiatives that Jeffrey and his team put on. And if you'd like to tweet something pleasant and kind, it's at Jeffrey Hayzlett on Twitter. Don't send him any mean messages, you guys.
No doxing allowed. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, by the way, if you do that, I'm probably coming right back at you. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. And don't pretend to be him on like dating sites either. That's not cool.
Oh yeah, I've got that. And don't say anything. Whatever you do, don't say anything bad about bacon.
No,
That's
or
right.
Scotch. Or Scotch. Yeah.
Bacon and Scotch. There you go. Mm-hmm. Jeffrey, thanks for being on the show. We appreciate good thoughts and good ideas and a great discussion, as always, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. Let's get America and Canada and every other country open for business.
Let's get back to work, people.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.